Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Dr. David Hooper, and this is the Unstoppable Introvert Project podcast. And today we are tackling the thing that will completely transform your life, transform your relationships, transform how you perform in the workplace, in your gym, in those businesses that you're creating, whatever it is your ambitions relate to. This is the thing that will transform your life. And it is, of course, how to develop unshakable confidence. And that is the thing that we are going to be looking at today. And when I talk to introverts, and me being an introvert, the problem that we all have relates to confidence. And what I find is, when I'm coaching colleagues and coaching friends and, all these different people that I've worked with in the past, it's always confidence. Maybe it's confidence relating to something else as well. I'm scared to do something because I lack confidence, or maybe I'm having some mental issues around a certain thing. And also, by the way, I struggle with confidence. These are the things that I'm seeing on a day-to-day basis. But there is good news. Confidence is not real. There is no such thing as a confident person or an unconfident person. But before we dive into the topic, how has your week been? How is 2024 going for you so far? In terms of my own life, as I've mentioned on a few previous podcasts, Laura and I are training for a marathon. It's her first ever marathon, and she's trying to go from 0 miles a week to marathon in 10 weeks. Huge challenge, mentally and physically. We've just finished week 5 of the 10-week plan. So we've got 5 weeks to go, and things are starting to get exciting. Laura's doing great. She's smashing it. The thing that we're finding at the moment is we've got some niggly injuries. We're foam rolling and stretching a lot. We're icing a lot, and we are trying to keep that mindset nice and strong when we're out on the runs. A lot of the challenges Laura's facing is that self-belief. I can't do this. I don't believe I can do this. But then she is doing it, which is incredibly exciting. I think Laura's going to be the one of the first to be a guest on this podcast. We've had a huge outreach of really amazing messages of support. I can't thank you enough for everyone who's taken the time to do that, who's liked the podcast, shared the podcast, commented on the podcast, rated the podcast. It is so appreciated. And within those messages, we've got a few people who are interested in being guests on the show. So if you have anybody you think I should get on the show, or if you're an introvert who has an amazing story to tell to inspire others, please get in touch at Dr. David Hooper. And yes, I will try and figure out how to get guests on this podcast. That adds another layer of technicality to it, but I'm up for that challenge, and I think that would be really awesome to start to share our message, our unstoppable introvert message, even wider, if we can start to hear different people's voices as well. So yeah, I'm excited for all that, but Laura will be one of the first guests on here, probably the week after she's finished her marathon. To go from 0 to 10 weeks and then crush a marathon will be an incredible feat. And I'm sure that some of the people on this podcast who have ambitions of running, of losing weight, of transforming their lives through exercise and building that mindset will certainly like to hear what she's got to say. So she's an incredibly unstoppable introvert, that's for sure. She's achieved a load of exciting things, and the one of them, it will be this marathon. So yes, that is what is going on in the land of Hoopers. But back to today, confidence. And like I've mentioned a few times, confidence has been one of the things I've struggled with, but it's now something that I feel I have in my toolbox. I've surprised people, I guess, which always is the weirdest thing. Whenever I have mentioned that I'm feeling unconfident, or even that I'm an introvert, I get some raised eyebrows sometimes where, people say, are you really? You're doing quite a lot of cool stuff. And firstly, introverts are allowed to do a lot of cool stuff, and we're allowed to do everything that extroverts do. And then secondly, it's not an act. because that's the wrong phrase. But it's almost like it's a tool. Having the ability to be confident is a tool. And when I tell you about how I do that, you will be able to do it too. And it can be scary, but it's all about doing it. It's the action. And I'm going to give the game away immediately. It is all down to action, but we're going to come to that during this episode. So yeah, like I mentioned, there is no such thing as a confident person, and there is no such thing as an unconfident person. So if you ever have heard anyone say this, or have ever said it yourself, that is, oh, I'm just not confident, that is a myth. So let's get rid of that phrase from our terminology immediately. Never say that again. It's all about the situation. You see, people find themselves in certain situations which allows their confidence to go up, and it allows their confidence to come back down. But it's all about that circumstance that you find yourself in. It does not define you. So like I just mentioned, you're not a confident person and you're not an unconfident person. It's all about the circumstance. But when I come back to terminology, although I never want to hear that phrase, I'm not a confident person ever again, the phrase I do want to hear is, I am becoming confident, or I am confident. And that is a phrase to add to your terminology, to add to your toolkit. And by saying that, you are going to start to feel a lot more confident. Because exactly the same, if we flip it the other way, when you start to say things like, I'm not confident, you start to feel a lot less confident. So use your terminology to your advantage at all times. The smallest percentage can lead to the biggest of results, and that is one of the main ones. Start to change your terminology and you will start to feel more confident. But fear not, a lack of confidence is pretty common. No matter who you talk to, everybody at some point will feel like they have a lack of confidence. And one of the reasons I always like to highlight how important this is because it can help you really stand out. If you are associated with being confident, you are associated with being a winner. You are associated with being somebody who is successful. And if we are able to be confident, we start to be associated with those things, and they're what we want to be. And that doesn't mean being an extrovert. So I think a lot of people, when they hear confidence, align it to being an extrovert. A lot of extroverts are shy and lack confidence as well. But for us as introverts, it's about thinking about how can I be confident without necessarily shouting the loudest. And we're going to talk about that type of thing in this episode. And I'm going to talk about things like the terminology, but also how you use your body, how you walk, how you talk, how you put yourself about, and how you approach situations. And this is going to be the difference that you can apply today and can help you immediately in your life. Get into this confidence thing then. It's about the trust you have in yourself in a situation. And it's about being able to rely on yourself in that situation to be able to cope with whatever is thrown at you. So, a lot of the times we feel confident because we are fearful of what might be coming, the fear of the unknown. In an interview, a lot of us don't feel that confident in interviews because we don't know what the questions are. We don't know who's sitting on the interview panel. We don't know the environment because you're probably interviewing in a new place of work or, that type of thing. So it's all about putting yourself in situations and being able to know that you can rely on yourself when the time comes. But where does this confidence come from? It comes from our mind being filled with everything that we haven't got, everything that's gone wrong, and all of our self-perceived weaknesses. And I don't know about you, but for me, I have a load of weaknesses, and some of these may be self-perceived, but I know that I've got lots of examples of when things have gone wrong. I've got a list of things I haven't got, and I have a long list of self-perceived weaknesses, that's for sure. And these all lead to doubt. And these manifest kind of stories in our minds that we can't trust ourselves or even rely on ourselves to get a specific result. And because our brain goes, oh, well, I can't be relied on to get this specific result, we then feel nervous and anxious and in a panic and overwhelmed, and our confidence just fizzles out into the ether. So it's all about developing this self-confidence. Now, how do you do that? So simple. It's about keeping the promises you make to yourself. And by doing that, you will start to build confidence. So let's break this down. I'm talking about if you say you're going to get up at a certain time, you get up at that time. If you say you're going to go to the gym, you go to the gym. If you say you're going to stop posting on social media, you stop posting on social media. If you say you're going to start that business, you start that business. If you say you're going to ask somebody out, you go and ask them out. If you say you're going to start to contribute in a team meeting, you start to contribute in a team meeting. It's all about the promise that you keep to yourself. When you start to keep these promises that you make, you start to stack wins. And by stacking wins, you are developing this feeling of confidence in all of these different settings. And that will lead to a feeling of overall confidence in your life, which is an incredible place to be. Because when you're arriving on a day-to-day basis, and let's say 80-90% of the experiences you're having, you're feeling confident in, that 10 or 20% where you're feeling fearful is a really nice percentage to be growing in. So it's not about growing all the time, but it's about growing enough where you're feeling confident, you're feeling like you can take on the day, and you can feel like you're challenging yourself and others on a day-to-day basis. Where does this, again, just focusing on this confidence element and the lack of confidence, something that I love to do with people who I have worked with in the past. I'm talking high-level business people, I'm talking athletes, and everybody in between. It's about bringing awareness to your self-worth. It's about thinking you're confident. It's about focusing on what you have. And it's kind of like seeking you shall find. And I'm not talking about kind of being it till you see it or fake it till you make it. I don't like that crap. I like seeking it and you'll find it. Thinking about the things you want and going after them. And if that's being confident, well, that's what I'm thinking about and that's what I'm going to go and get. If you own your self-worth and highlight your skills, your talents, your abilities, and your successes, you will start to stack those wins so you're feeling a little bit more confident. I've talked about it before, your badass list or your stack list, get it written down so you're in a place where you know that you can deliver and feel confident about it. It's exactly the same when I was trying to find the courage to start this podcast. I was for weeks thinking I wasn't good enough, I had no knowledge, I just wasn't someone anyone else would listen to. And I built up this narrative of really low self-worth. I was a piece of shit, actually, is how I thought about myself. And that was really upsetting. And, I had to get coaching off Laura sometimes where she had to say, no, actually, tell me about these different things you're good at. And I had to go, okay, yeah, I'm all right at those things. And when I was able to bring my awareness back to why people might listen to this podcast and who it might help, suddenly my confidence soared. I have stories that people who are in the situation I was, introvert, morbidly obese, redundant, clinically depressed, filled with anxiety, regular panic attacks, constant overwhelm. And I overcame all that. Someone might want to hear about that. The second part, I've got a PhD in this exact topic. I have that knowledge, the theoretical knowledge, but also the knowledge to be able to tell you how to bring these frameworks and techniques to life in a practical environment. And I've got confidence now in front of the camera. I've acted a little bit. I've spoken on stage. I lecture for a living. I publicly speak all the time. I can do this. And when I pulled all of that list together, I suddenly felt, okay, yeah, maybe I can do this. And that's how I broke through that podcast barrier. And it's exactly the same in those environments that you have. But let me help you find your self-worth. So I'm going to go through a couple of questions here, and I'm going to ask you to tell me the answers. Obviously, you can't speak through the podcast to me, but just wherever you are, if you're on the treadmill on your notes, or walking the dog on your notes, or in the car, maybe you'll come back to this later, but tell me one thing you can do better than anyone else. What is it? What do you think it is? Make a note of that. Let's bulk up that self-worth. When was a time that you succeeded at something? So when was a time that you personally triumphed in a way that you're incredibly proud of? What 5 things are you really good at? And these could be general. It could be public speaking. It could be being a friend, being a partner, being creative. Maybe you're an incredible artist, I don't know. What 5 things are you really good at? They don't have to be connected. It just has to relate back to you. I love this one because it makes people extremely uncomfortable. What makes you special and unique? What makes you special and unique? That's a difficult question to answer, isn't it? I bet you're sitting there thinking nothing, absolutely nothing. Well, I don't believe that. I believe that every single person is unique and special and individualized, and it's up to you to figure out what that is. Whether it's, someone who brings great energy to a conversation. Are you the person who reaches out to somebody to maintain friendships? Are you that person who is first in at the office, last one out? What is it that makes you special? It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to change the world. Maybe you've raised money for charity. That is amazing. Maybe you've done a transformation of your own. But like I say, it doesn't have to be earth-shattering. It can be the smallest of things that makes you incredibly special. Next one. Can you explain to me a time where you overcame a difficult situation or a life challenge? Now, we have to push hard on this because we need to know what you struggle with and what's a barrier. So really think hard about those life challenges. I suppose for me, I'm lucky in a sense in that I really know what my struggles were. Morbid obesity, clinical depression, redundancy. I think another one that I haven't talked about too much is my fear of failure, perhaps. So I'm incredibly ambitious and I have a fear of failure, of not achieving my potential. I've had a few goes at achieving my potential. I was 16 when I got released from an academy, which shattered my confidence. It's taken time to build that back up. But what that means is, because I have awareness of all of these things, I'm able to keep an eye out when I'm feeling low, when my self-worth plummets, and I can act on it. So have a think about, when did you overcome a life challenge? Or maybe you're going through a life challenge now that you need to overcome. And then lastly, another quite a good one is, why are you talented? What makes you the most talented person in the room? Is it the way you can maintain eye contact? Is it the way you show up for your friends? Think about some of the examples that you have when it comes to your talent. But the main thing I want you to take away when you listen to this section of the podcast is, I want to give you permission to own how good you are. That's right. I want you to own how good you are. I want you to puff that chest out. I want you to almost strut around your house or your office or wherever you are. And I want you to own how good you are. I almost want you to be arrogant. I almost want you to be arrogant. Or, pretend. Pretend that you are the most confident person in the room, in the world. Walk like you are, talk like you are, think like you are, and start to experience what that might actually look like for you. And it might be awkward and uncomfortable for you. And you might think, I hate this. I'm not an arrogant person. That's fine. We're not trying to make you into an arrogant person. What we're trying to do is understand where your limiting beliefs are. And if your limiting beliefs are around confidence and feeling confident and acting confident and being confident, then we know this is something we need to dig deeper into. So there's something different when it comes to confidence, when it's, I don't feel confident and actually really feeling like the world is collapsing around you in terms of your confidence. They're slightly different things. So that might be something to keep an eye out as you do that exercise. And then one more tool that is really, really good, and it's similar to the badass list. Instead of the examples of when you've done something amazing, I want you to list 20 things that you think you're amazing at. It's a bit like if you were creating a CV. What are you great at? Oh, well, I'm good at problem solving, I'm good at management, I'm good at leadership, I'm good at X, Y, Z. Can you do the same for you personally? You've probably asked somebody else to do that, whether you're working with a student or you have employees. Can you do that for yourself? All right? 20 things that you think you are really, really good at, and then we can go from there. And once you've got those 20 things, similar to the badass list, you can refer to them when you are feeling low on confidence. So there is 2 types of confidence I'm going to talk about today. The first is natural confidence. Second is inner confidence, but natural first. This is the type of confidence someone can develop. It's that confidence that feels effortless. Your complete trust in your ability when you're doing the thing, leading to that natural high. It's like, playing football for me is where I feel most confident. I don't play anymore, unfortunately. But if I went and played five-a-side, which I've done with a few colleagues now and again, I know arriving there that I'm going to do all right. I'm playing with 10, 11 other strangers, but I know that I am good at football. So when I go and do that thing, that football game, I know that I'm going to be one of the better players there. I'm going to be feeling really good about myself. There's going to be a flow about what I'm doing. There's going to just be a natural confidence with it. That's one example of natural confidence. So just think about where you feel most comfortable. Is it singing? Maybe you go to a karaoke bar and you're really good at singing. Is it being at home with your friends and your family and you're so comfortable? A lot of introverts transform in that situation, actually. So when I'm in a situation I don't really know and I don't really know the people, I'm quiet, I don't really contribute that much, I keep myself to myself. But maybe around family dinner parties, I am loud, I'm making jokes because I'm so comfortable in that situation. And I'm really confident. But the key to achieving natural confidence is to develop competence. So I'll say that again for the people in the back. The key to achieving natural confidence is to develop competence. Confidence, competence, competence, competence. And if you think about those examples I gave, I've played football for the best part of 30 years. I'm very competent in that area because I've done it a lot, so I'm now confident. In those areas that I haven't done a lot, I'm less competent, so less confident. So just think about, how does your competence and confidence levels match up in these different situations? Competence is the ability to do something successfully or efficiently. It's all about developing knowledge, ability, and experience. But of course, this takes time and work. And do you know what the magic ingredient is? The work. It's about taking action, doing what makes you uncomfortable, not just weekly, but daily. Every single day, doing the thing that you wish you were good at and doing it in a way that is really going to push you, and you're going to develop that competence. You have to start the loop. Are you going to improve the confidence? Yes, right, then your confidence is going to increase. Then you're going to become more competent, then you're going to gain more confidence. And it's that cycle that we have to start. So wherever you're feeling like you're lacking confidence, you can start small, but then it's about taking some action. So let's say you wish you could contribute more at work. Start by, maybe asking questions, asking a small question. And then eventually, after a few weeks of asking one question in a team meeting, you could try and answer one or even make a statement, and you can build up your confidence that way. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you can press the pause button and then ask yourself this question: is the action or avoidance going to take me to where I want to go? And unfortunately, the answer is always action, because avoiding the thing, whatever that is to you, is not going to help you overcome it. It's not going to help you get to it either. So again, I would like to come back to this podcast. I was avoiding doing this podcast, even though I was desperate to do it, because I was scared. And then eventually I had that thought: am I going to transform the hundreds of thousands of introverts' life who are just like me if I'm sitting overwhelmed in a corner with my head in the sand? Or am I going to have to do the thing, push myself, get a bit more confident by doing it, publish it, repeat the cycle, and now here we are, 7 episodes later, feeling great, buzzing that I'm helping people, and you can do exactly the same in your situation too, especially when you don't feel like it or you feel scared. So yeah, there's a great quote that I'll probably butcher, but I'll try it anyway. The success isn't about what you do when you're motivated, it's about what you do when you're unmotivated. It's about turning up when you don't feel like it. It's about showing up even when you don't want to. And the whole the way I like to summarize it is by saying imperfect action are the keys to success. There was glitches in that first podcast. There were learning curves. There were things I've done differently, but it's out there. And that is now snowballed into the 7th episode. That imperfect action got the ball rolling, and then we learn from it, we reflect on it, we grow from it, and we progress with it. Let's just have a little reflect on your toolbox, that coaching kind of toolbox that you have. Really outline the thing that is making you feel uncomfortable and unconfident. This can be challenging. It can be quite hard to decide what that is. There's going to be resistance. There's going to be fear. There's going to be limiting beliefs. You're going to feel uncomfortable, but that is part of the process. If you accept it and acknowledge it, you will be able to progress with it. Always come back to what can you do to move forward and to take action. Try and take that action. Try and take those positive steps to change your life. Consider the fear model, false evidence appearing real. And that is going to help you overcome those limiting beliefs we've talked about. I think it was at episode 6. Go and have a listen to it. Go and find it. And that will help you take that action as well. And we've also talked about the 6 levels of neurological change. If you need to change your environment, your behaviors, your abilities, your capabilities, your values, your beliefs, your vision, whatever it is, you can do it. You can do it. And then secondly, inner confidence. So that was natural confidence. This is the type of confidence you can actively create rather than developing naturally, like that natural confidence. This is perfect if your confidence is low and you can't really face taking action. I've been there when you just can't take that action. For 6 months, when I was morbidly obese, I was too scared to go outside because of my low confidence, and I didn't want to go outside because of how I was feeling, how I was looking, how people would look at me. And this inner confidence, developing this inner confidence really, really helped. Now, I've talked about kind of seek and you shall find, and this differs from fake it till you make it. It is similar, but it's different. I want you to imitate being confident. So I know I've touched on this a little bit with the arrogance before, but just start to think about in your mind what a better version of you would look like if, you are looking to develop something. And you can actually choose to access this part of your brain. Now, I'm going to talk you through something called the triad. And that is your imagination, your body posture, and your self-talk. Now, these three things are going to change the game when it comes to developing inner confidence. All three have a direct effect on our confidence. And as well as determining all forms of emotions that we experience, just know that if you can control your triad, those three things I just mentioned, you can control your life. So that is imagination, your body posture, and self-talk. So the imagination, the images that you're forming in your mind, your body posture, what are you actually doing with your physical body? How are you sitting? How are you walking? How are you holding yourself? And then the self-talk, the voice inside your head, that inner dialogue that we have. And when you get control of those things, it will change your life. So let me tell you the 3 steps to influencing that emotional triad. Firstly, stand up for me. Second thing, close your eyes. Third thing, obviously if you're driving or on a treadmill, maybe hold off on this, just listen. But if you are actively doing this, stand up, close your eyes. And now I want you to vividly imagine, what would it be like if you were incredibly confident? What are you wearing? Where are your eyes looking? What are your arms doing as you're walking? How are you sitting? Is your chest pushed out? Is your back kind of nicely tucked in? Are you walking with purpose? And then you really need to acknowledge, what are you seeing here? Because the power of your imagination is key. Don't rush this process either. You might have heard about maybe like a vision board where you're thinking about the things that you want to achieve. This is similar, but this is just in your mind's eye. So thinking about those 3 elements of the triad, when we look at imagination first, how do you see yourself? How do you see the situation you're in? What are you thinking about? Now, something that I do quite often with this type of thing is public speaking. So I'm just like any introvert really, terrified of public speaking, but it's something I do daily. It's something I do love as well, especially when it's a topic I'm really interested in. And something I do is visualize what I'm going to do when I do it. So I close my eyes and I think about myself walking out on stage, lots of people clapping, me looking dapper as hell, maybe in a nice suit or a nice top or whatever, looking shredded and lean, and walking with confidence and purpose, and it going superbly, and there's a standing ovation when I finish, and I get pretty excited about that, and I can feel the hairs starting to pick up on the back of my neck there as well. But it's all about imagination, because when you then get in that situation, you start to visualize these things, and it might very well happen. The second one, self-talk. As this confident version of yourself, what are you saying to yourself? What does your voice sound like? Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it loud? Is it soft? What words do you choose when speaking to yourself? Consider your tone. Own it. Are they affirmations that you're talking about? Through this self-talk, again, you're building up that inner confidence that you can then take out into that situation. So something that Eric Thomas said, I know I've mentioned him a few times, at ET, the hip hop preacher, greatest motivational speaker in the world. He used to say that he was the greatest motivational speaker in the world. And then eventually he believed it, and then eventually he became it. It's all about this self-talk, developing that self-belief. And then lastly, body posture. Think about that confident person you're seeing in your mind. As this confident person, how are you standing? Are your arms, swinging forward confidently? How do you move? How do you sit? What's your posture like? Are you slumped or are you sitting up, ready for action? And when you're able to turn these imaginative thoughts and self-talk and posture into reality, then your confidence is going to start to change as well. So now that you've imagined what a confident person looks like, the simple step is, all you have to do now is do it. Easy. All you have to do now is do it. You've thought about what you want, go and do it. I want you to think like this moving forward. I want you to think this way, talk this way, and move this way. So everything you were thinking of previously in the last couple of minutes, I want you to now to do that. And this is exactly what I have done in terrifying situations. So another terrifying situation I had was my PhD Viva. It is the most terrified I've ever been in my life. And it is where I had a 3-hour interview about my PhD with people I was, I felt very much an imposter in that situation. But I told myself that I was right to be there. I needed to sit confidently, speak a certain way. And that's what I went and did. And I passed that Viva and got my PhD. And I started to feel it. So you will start to feel it too when that kind of confidence starts to develop and you get into the habit of trying these different tools and techniques out. You will start to vividly imagine yourself in those situations. And it's all about how those situations, you can then bring to life and actually do those things in real life. The body and brain combine to develop confidence. So just remember that. You might have heard about things like power poses and phrases and anchors. We'll touch on some of that soon as well. But once you get your emotional triad, your imagination, your self-talk, and your body posture to work for you, it will really serve you and it will start to change your life. Guys, I've absolutely loved talking to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and share and rate the episode. You can find us on Spotify and you can find me on TikTok and Instagram and LinkedIn at Dr. David Hooper. And please share the word about this podcast to any other unstoppable introverts that might be interested in. The more you share it, the more the show will grow and the more help we can give out to those incredible introverts who are just waiting to be unstoppable. And like I always like to say at the end of these podcasts, being an introvert isn't the thing that will hold you back. It is the thing that will catapult you towards becoming your unstoppable best. Until next time, guys, stay unstoppable.